Thank you for coming to my presentation. So I'll talk about gut microbiota and how to optimize the link between your microbiota, the food you eat, and your health. So yes, this is the 3 parameters. I'll try to link all of them together. So first, what is gut microbiota? It's all the microorganisms you have in your gut. We find various bacteria, fungi, and so on. And just to give you some examples, in the stomach, you have 10 to 1,000 bacteria per milliliter. The small intestine is even more. We can reach 10 million bacteria. And in the colon, we go up to 10 billion or even more. An investigation found that we have about 160 bacteria species per individual. Every one of you have this kind of bacteria, but it differ. And all these bacteria corresponds to more than 3 million genes. Every individual have similarities. We share common bacteria, but we also are unique. Everyone is unique. We find a core set, a core. We found about 600 identified species that are common to more than 90% of everyone. It was founded in the Medahid project, but the difference is in the proportions. And everyone has also some more species, some additional species, which makes the difference between every one of you. The gut microbiota impacts lots of functions. First, the immunity. The microbiota in your intestine acts as a barrier against pathogens, for example. But it also acts in the inflammation. Depending on what microbiota you have, you can improve or decrease the inflammation rate of your whole organism. Microbiota also acts in metabolism for the digestion, the energy storage, the vitamin productions. For example, if you don't have your microbiota, you can't produce some vitamins like vitamin B or K. We also, as the literature, the scientific world, also find some relationship between gut microbiota and the nervous system. That's why we call the brain-gut system. Like it affects mental health, depression, stress. And microbiota also act on the gut motility, how you digest everything. And I can cite also different other functions like xenobiotics metabolisms. We were talking about the toxins. Microbiota can help metabolize these toxins, or it also acts on development and maintenance of the tissues. The microbiota evolves through the age, depending on the genetic, on the environment, on the food you can eat. You change your diet, you would change your microbiota. On your physical activity, if you take drugs, it also affects microbiota. So microbiota has lots of perturbations, but it's also very resilient. It can come back to balance. And that's what we try to reach, of course. Just to give you an understanding of the coevolution between food and microbiota. Years ago, the diet was plant-based. So very rich in fibers that were highly accessible for the microbiota. And we had natural birth. So this microbiota was designed for this kind of food and this kind of living. Through agriculture and breeding, the adaptation to the diet evolve. To now, with the industrialization phase, where we eat different diets with lower fiber accessibility. We also have antibiotics that affect the bacteria, sanitary measures, C-section also. So the microbiota changes to new bacterial resistance, some functions that changes too, and in general, a lower diversity. To take just one example of a diet which meets the good impact on health and a good microbiota, I will take the Mediterranean diet. In this diet, we have lots of vegetables, fruits, whole grains that gives lots of fibers, oat seeds, different seeds. There is some animal products like cheese or meats that are in low quantity. They are here, but in low quantity. There's not a lot of wine consumption and also low sugar consumption, for example. Lots of studies suggest that this kind of diet give a protection against different diseases like cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, cancer, allergies, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, and so on. But how does it work? That's the question. We found that microbiota can have a role in this function, in this collaboration. For example, in this Mediterranean diet versus an Occidental diet, we have twice the amount of fiber, which impacts the microbiota by decreasing the firmicutes, increasing the bacteroides that are two types of bacteria, and increasing the short-chain fatty acids. All these are known to have an impact on health by decreasing the inflammatory diseases, autoimmune diseases, and allergies. The diet, Mediterranean diet, also have lower choline and L-carnitine compounds that are present in meat products, which impact the microbiota by decreasing the production of TMAO, which also has an impact in the health by decreasing the cardiovascular diseases. So with this diet, we improve the bacterial diversity and composition, and we also regulate immune functions. At the end, we have an improvement improved on the health. To give you a more large overview of what's going on with microbiota, we say that fibers in general have an improved digestibility by the bacteria, microbiota bacteria, and high microbial diversity gives an improved immunity and improved biofunctions, so an improved health. Omega-3, like we can find in the diet, also increase the anti-inflammatory compounds, through microbiota modification also. Sugar, salts, animal fat, additives, on the contrary, decrease the diversity. So it also affects the barrier functions and decrease the health of the people. Fermented aliments. Fermented food is quite interesting in terms of microbiota. It's historically used to storage, for food storage through sucrose, kefir, dry sausages, yogurt, and so on. And the studies made on this prove that it increases the bacterial colonization of the colon, which is very interesting. The polyphenols, we always say that it's not very good, but yes, it's good for microbiota. We found it in fruits, vegetables, wine, coffee, cacao, and increase the proportion of great bacteria. So yes, we can have pleasure in eating and have a good bacteria. It's compatible. The question, what is a good microbiota? There is not one good microbiota. There's several. Everyone is unique. Everyone can have a good microbiota. And the microbiota evolve, but it doesn't always evolve badly. Sometimes it's better. It's all a question of balance between the species. It's an ecosystem between the organism and between all the bacteria. We can have an healthy microbiota when it's balanced. A disturbance of this balance can go to inflammatory disease or other kind of disease. That's when the microbiota is in dysbiosis, I would call, that it's a problem for health. And in general, diversity, the bigger, it's the better, because it limits the colonization by the pathogen. When you have lots of bacteria, there is no place, no room for the pathogens. And it's also have a large functionality. Each bacteria acts differently. So if you have large diversity, you can have also large panel functionality. How do we link all together? This is where Nahibu can have his place. Nahibu provides a gut microbiome testing. It's a solution for everyone to test the microbiota, try to understand what's in it through a simple kit doing at home. And we run a pipeline of bioinformatic analysis to give you a full understanding of your own microbiota, which function is affected, how to improve it. This is the kit, very simple one with a tube, a physics catcher and gloves, for sure, a shuttle push to give back the sample to us, and a prepaid envelope from France and sorry. And this is all the pipeline. We got the sample from you. We ran shotgun metagenomic sequencing, run the biological analysis, process all the results, and give you scores and a full visualization of what's in your gut. We have the first private cohort in Europe on microbiome with thousands of people already tested. In the report, we have different key parameters. I talked about diversity, so we have this point, is diversity. How your microbiota is balanced. Are you in eubiosis or dysbiosis? We have the full map of the phyla, the full bacteria you have in it, and the major bacteria that are known to have good impact on health. Like, for example, lactobacillus are known to have very good impact. Bifidobacterium also, that are probiotics, usually sold in the market. So we give you an example of how many bacteria of this kind of this species you have in your gut. We also analyze the short-chain fatty acids production capabilities that are important for health. We run through the different functional analysis: immunity, digestion, fitness, mood and food intake, and give you a full score of your microbiota compared to the cohort, the healthy people we have in our cohort. Now that we know what's in your microbiota, we can adapt the advice we give you. That's where the personalized feeding, you can go with a practitioner that we train to do this kind of analysis. Or we also propose a range of probiotics adapted to each of you. So yeah, this is Nahibu, and we also now have a lot more to do.
Thank you very much.